Tim, when you first came to Everton, people tend to forget that you initially you came on loan. Was that just so you could have a little look and see if it was a good fit for you and Everton Football Club, or did you want to prove a point to Alex Ferguson and maybe play well at Everton and win your place back at Manchester United?
No, I had my heart set on, when it comes to my football career, loyalty was everything. And so once I came on loan, the detail was in the contract. I planned on being at Everton for a long time. I had no desire to go back to Manchester United. And so even though it was on loan initially, I wanted to go there and continue to get better and improve my football, and that was the place I wanted to be.
Brian, what do you recall of your debut for Everton down at Tottenham Hotspur?
Yeah, I think the injuries definitely took its toll. The real overall arching conversation was just basically play the soccer you play. Don't try and change things up. Like Landon said, you're jumping into a group that's been playing for half a season already. So that part was pretty straightforward, and no special tactical changes.
Brian, you were a very experienced player already when you came to Everton, and David Moyes, as we said, knew a little bit about you, but it must have been a relief to score a goal on your first game.
Darren, are you saying I was old? Is that what you were going with?
Experienced, bit of know-how behind you.
All right, I gotcha. Yeah, it was ironically, it was against probably my best friend in soccer, Casey Keller, in goal for Tottenham. So there was two special meanings to that day. I can hold that over his head for a lifetime, but also just the enjoyment of representing Everton and playing in my first Premier League game was there. Unfortunately, we didn't win the game, so it wasn't as enjoyable. But yeah, great time.
Landon, when you came on loan again, there was no time to settle in, was there? You couldn't get your feet under the table. You had to hit the ground running and start off straight away at Arsenal.
It did go well. I actually prefer cold weather. Always. I always have in my career for whatever reason. I'm not sure. So that was part of the reason why I enjoyed playing in England so much, is I felt like I could just run more and felt like I had more energy. So that game was a really special memory, obviously, for me. It was a game we should have won, to be honest. I think we gave up a late goal and drew 2-2, but that was a special moment for any player to get to play at the Emirates. But for us, it was a good learning experience for me, because came into the dressing room after, and if you had said before the match 2-2, would you take it? I think I'd say, yeah, away against Arsenal. Yeah, why not? But came into the locker room, and I vividly remember Tim, Phil, Tim Cahill, absolutely livid that we had given up a late goal and drawn the game. And it told me a lot about what that club was about, that they expected more than just to draw 2-2 away at Arsenal.
Just a quick blurb on Landon's debut. I remember that vividly, and selfishly, he hadn't been there very long, and obviously, every player would like a few more days to bed in with the team, and to play at the Emirates away from home when our backs are against the wall, not an easy task. But I selfishly, because Landon and I had such a great rapport and friendship, and I played with him in the toughest of games, in the deepest of trenches, I was selfishly hoping he would play. It's a game where we'd be able to hit them on the counter. The game would be wide open. Emirates is a brilliant pitch, massive stadium. And so when he got the nod to play, it was, I was excited, and obviously he repaid us with an incredible performance.
I showed up at halftime on January 2nd. I'd flown overnight on New Year's Day, and Everton were playing, I think maybe Carlisle in the FA Cup.
Carlisle in the Cup, I remember, yeah.
And so I showed up at halftime, and I was watching the match. And you have to remember, coming from America, we had, sometimes you had sold out stadiums, but you never had an atmosphere like that. That was really new to me, and I'm sure Brian and Tim can speak to that when they first stepped foot in a stadium there. You never had an atmosphere like that, and that's intimidating as well as inspiring. I'll never forget, I was walking through the hallways downstairs at Finch Farm my first week, and Stubbsy, he stopped me in the hallway and he said, Landon, I don't want to take too much of your time. I just want to tell you one thing. And I said, what's that? And he said, as long as you run and work and run and fight and run, the people here will love you. So you don't have to complete a pass. You don't have to score goals. You just run and work your ass off and they will love you. And I kind of took that, like, I took it in, but I didn't really realize it until I stepped on the field for the first time at Goodison in a match. And then I went, oh, now I get it, right? And every time you ran and tackled and made a play like that, the crowd just went crazy. And so that was, I took it as inspirational, but it can also be intimidating, right? If you're not that type of player, you don't bring that out, that can be difficult.
Tim, when did you feel that you were a voice in the dressing room? When did you feel like a senior member of the Everton squad? Did that happen quite early for you?
No, there was too many strong voices, strong Evertonians. Pease and Stubbsy were the club captains. Hibbo and Ozzy were there when I got there. The year after I came, Bainesy arrived. So it was just a lot of Evertonians there that I wasn't trying to overstep my bounds. I had a leadership role as a goalkeeper, which we always do. But, I tried to lead the team and walk the line and stay in my lane. I think the one moment that sticks out in my career, it's past the test of time. I was sitting in the boot room. It was after a loss, and it was when Louis Saha, who was my teammate at Man United, came to the team, and I was sulking. It was a Monday, and we had lost on the Saturday, and I was in the boot room, came off the training ground, and I was sulking, and he asked me what was wrong, and I questioned him as if, what do you mean what's wrong? We just got thumped and I'm upset and I'm annoyed. And even 2 days later, I'm annoyed. And I remember Louis saying to me, which obviously he was a big player, right? And, him saying to me that I couldn't act that way, that I needed to puff my chest out and hold my head high because everybody in the dressing room was following my lead and that I had a lot of influence. And I just remember being blown away at that singular moment. And so that stood out for me. I don't remember what year that was, but it was early on when Louis was there. And so I've always tried to stay in my lane, but it was that key moment for me that allowed me to realize that I was part of the fabric at Everton.
Brian, what do you recall of Wayne Rooney? You played alongside him very briefly. He was an 18-year-old kid at the time. Has he achieved everything that you thought he would?
You could see how talented he was. Just from the training ground. I remember the first training I got there, and it was a Friday, so it was pretty light. And then we did some shooting at the end. And this young kid who certainly I've seen the goal that he scored against Arsenal, and I'm thinking, okay, and seen him play a little bit, but just his ability to finish even at that young age was spectacular. And so you could see a really bright future. The other thing that stood out to me is most young players don't like contact and don't like to sort of get in the mix, especially if you're a smaller size player. And, that first game, and it wasn't a victory against Cheltenham, but, they were some big center backs, and he just wanted contact. He'd be backing into him, and you could see that there wasn't anything that really was going to hold him back.
Landon, was there an option for you to stay at Everton after either of your loan spells?
I think so. I mean, he brought me into his office near the end, and he said I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you if you wanted to stay. And I had made a pact with the Galaxy that in exchange for them letting me go on loan, that I would come back to the Galaxy. So it was certainly tempting. I was really, just from a pure football standpoint or soccer standpoint, it was 3 of the best months of my career. So it was very tempting, but I did want to keep my word to the Galaxy.
Tim, you were at Everton for 11 years. Was there any point during that time where maybe you wanted to leave or a club came in for you, or you'd had a whisper that there was a club interested in you?
I mean, not to my knowledge. I wasn't really linked with anybody. And I never wanted to leave. Everything I was able to, we were always pushing for the Champions League, in Europa League, a couple deep runs in Europa League, FA Cup semifinal, FA Cup final. Was able to be a part of 3 World Cup teams and World Cup qualifying all in my time with Everton. So all of my goals and my dreams and my aspirations were coming true. So it wasn't like I felt the need to move. And also I think again, I talk about that club loyalty. I wasn't putting my name out there. My agent wasn't fishing my name out there. So there was never anything that got legs in terms of me leaving. I was always going to be there.
Was there an option for you to stay at Everton after your loan period was up, Brian?
Nothing concrete. So when I first arrived, Moisey, unlike a Preston situation where Preston was, hey, we're interested if things go right, and we'd possibly be interested in buying you. My first day there, Moisey pulled me in the office and said, listen, I really appreciate you coming and helping. We've got, injuries to the front line. But I've made a statement to the board that I'm not planning on signing anyone over the age of 30, let alone, yeah, very funny, right? Yeah. Over the age of 30 and in the same position as two of the highest earners that are also over 30. So he said, just, give me what you got. You're going to enjoy your time here, and you'll love playing for the fans. And so I went about, and after, I think it was probably after like the 6th game, he pulled me back in, and he goes, what I said about when you first came, there might be something on the table. And I said, let's not worry about that right now. And that was really probably the last of the conversation, because Kevin was coming back from injury two games later. So if I'm honest, probably nothing real concrete.
David Moyes clearly liked you, Brian, because, as we've said, he had you twice, once at Preston and once at Everton. Was he a different man? Was he a different manager at Everton than he had been at Preston North End?
The funny thing was, when I first got there, I'm thinking, okay, it's a huge club, and will he be any different? And I can tell you, he wasn't. He had this ability to communicate. He was a great communicator to players. He was attention to detail, and he just had every aspect that you'd want. And, never thought of himself as this amazing manager, which, in my opinion, he was and still is. So, answer your question simply, no. He was the same guy, and I was very thankful for that.
We've got some questions now from our USA Toffees.
No, Mikel he was an incredibly talented footballer. Obviously, his soccer IQ was through the roof. Someone who understands the English game, and obviously, look, his connection that went way back with Pep Guardiola allowed him through a door after he was playing at Man City that most people don't get. And so, if there was ever anybody who was ready to be a manager at a big club, and that's obviously the way that the Premier League was going at the time, with Frank Lampard getting named at Chelsea, Mikel is going to do really good things. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, there's plenty. We've got a good pipeline coming through. But I think anybody that is ready as a player, that they're mentally prepared and they're physically and technically capable, would thrive at Everton. There's specific traits that I think American soccer players have, and most of those traits fit in very well with Everton and Evertonians.
What's the standard of international football like at the moment, Brian?
The standard's great. I think it's continues to get better. I think what you're seeing now is, as far from the American side, I think you're seeing young players having a better understanding of what it takes to be a soccer player. So it's not just technical, it's not just athletic. It's understanding the game. It's all aspects of it, and we've got to continue. There's been a lot of changes lately in the youth landscape, so it's going to be a real important job for us at US Soccer and for the rest of our coaches throughout the United States to continue that high level of standards.
Landon, you're coaching in San Diego at the moment. How's that going? Are you enjoying it?
Depends on the day. Most of the time it's enjoyable. It is pretty fun to get the opportunity to to have a positive impact on these young men's lives. And I'm in the same level that Tim's at in the USL Championship. So these are not Major League Soccer players who are earning millions of dollars. These are kids who are playing to try to get their chance to move on.
And Tim, what about yourself? How's life at Memphis FC?
Good. You know, we're in our second year and just starting to create more and more building blocks. You know, Landon did an eloquent job of describing what the league is like and what the players are like. And you just get this, for the most part, you get this absolute buy-in because this is all these players have. They are clinging to their hope and their dream of going to other leagues and beyond. And even if it's continuing to earn good money in the USL and making a living for themselves and their family, it's impressive. You know, it's something I've enjoyed being a part of, obviously on my side of things, trying to lure people to Memphis and tell them that they, you know, what it is they hope and dream they can achieve can be achieved here. So we've got a really good group of guys. You know, they take information on board like sponges, and so it's pretty cool to see.
Tim, you've got Jose Baxter over there with you in Memphis, one of our own. How's the Scouser doing over
there? As you could imagine, he's been brilliant. You know, obviously when Jose became available, and no, I've mentioned, and I think, you know, Landon being there during that time, Jose is and was a generational talent. You know, his football skills were fantastic. He was 16 years old when he started, you know, in the Premier League, and so just giving him an opportunity to continue to showcase those skills, be a leader in a new environment. He understands the game and he sees it so quickly. He's been a breath of fresh air. Really, really good and great for our players.
Brian, you look back on your time at Everton still with a lot of affection, don't you?
I do. You know, before I hopped on this call, I was wearing a red shirt.
Whoa!
And I thought, oh boy, I've got to change this color. So I purposely went and put on a blue shirt. You know, those are the things that stick with you for life. And certainly will always remember my time at Everton with extreme fondness, and the friendships that built in a short period of time, relationships that I think last over the length of life.
You must be the same, Landon. You liked it so much you did it twice.
Loved it. And my only sadness is that I haven't had the chance to go back since. So at some point soon here I will. But that entire experience is special to me in a way that nothing else has been in my career. And aside from Phil Neville, I'll remember everything about it fondly.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have your company, and all three of you clearly look back on your respective times at Everton Football Club with a great deal of genuine affection.
Look, Everton's the greatest football club in the world, bar none, and everything that's good in my life I can trace back to Everton Football Club, my children included. So, yeah, it's a special place, and my ties to the chairman only make it more special.